Hello, Dr. Jennifer Martay, and today we're going to be looking at this Keystudio's 4 Degree of Freedom Mechanical Arm Kit version 2 for Arduino. I'm going to call it the Robot Arm Kit. This is the robot arm, and I thought I would start by showing you what it can do. So you've got the screwdriver in there. If that was a pencil, we could be drawing a design, couldn't we? So you use the joystick to close around the screwdriver. What else do you want to do with it? I've got a picture here showing you how we stuck a Sharpie pin into the claw and moved it around. I have set up the robot arm with 10 saved positions, and you save them by clicking this to each position, and then when you click this it goes through them. So I'll show you. It brings it up in the air, moves the whistle around, puts it down at the ground, moves it around, stretches out, and then goes back to the beginning position. Now, first off, this is being controlled, the robot arm is being controlled by 4 servos, one here, one on each side there, and one underneath here, and we can tell it what to do using the joystick. So let's begin by going through the servos. So servo 1 is the one that's on the base, which is down here, and it controls the rotation this way and that way. So if we go to the joystick on right and we press it to the right, we see that it goes one way, then it goes to the other way. Make sure there's nothing in the way that it can catch. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll put that back where it was at about 45 degrees. The next easier one to understand is the 4th servo. It's named number 4 in the code anyway, and that's the one at the top, which is this one. This one opens and closes this claw. So one side of the claw is controlled by the servo, and the other side of the claw is an intermesh joint, which you can see in here. Now, sometimes these two fall out of the mesh, and that's because of the screw I've had to use here. The instructions said to use an M3 by 10, but that meant they couldn't mesh because this part didn't go far enough down to touch in with that one's mesh. So I used a 2 by 12. So it's a bit loose up here because the screw isn't as wide as they were expecting, but at least now it's the right length. And the opening and closing of the claw is controlled by the joystick on the left side. So if I go this direction, it opens the claw, and this direction closes the claw. Something I would suggest when you're setting this up, if you have to set this not exactly at 0, I would err on making it slightly closed to begin with, because you have quite a lot of room to play with this direction. I mean, you're not going to grab onto something that's this big, or indeed any bigger, but when it gets to 0, it gets to 0. So here I've actually got a little bit of a gap. While it's in focus, I'll go ahead and talk about these. You needed to use some 1.2 by 4 screws to hold the black part on here onto the blue metal, but the screws that came with it were so small they fell through the slot, so I had to find some bigger ones from a different kit. So I think this one slightly bigger, and then I ran out of this size, so I had to do one that's even bigger, and you can see then there's quite a lot of it that's coming down on the other side. But for my purposes, I didn't think that was a problem, so I went ahead with it. Now, the other 2 servos, the ones on the left and the right, they bring these arms out and down. So, for example, if I use the right side and press down, it comes down towards me, and if I press up, it goes back. So this one controls this direction, and on the other side makes it go up and down in the air. So up means up, down means down. Bring it into this position, and this one would mean bring it back towards the center of the arm. We could also control it with an app on our phone using this Bluetooth here. This has required quite a bit of troubleshooting using parts in different locations because I ran out of these pillars and I ran out of some of the sizes of screws, but I've been in touch with Keyestudio. They're checking their kits to make sure that that's not a problem for everyone. So I think if you've got someone who's done kits like this before, they will really enjoy it, but if they haven't done a kit like this before, probably best not to give them this one first.